So you're getting ready to do a cut and you don't want to lose all your size and all your strength, right? Maybe you're thinking, should I even cut it all, right? Because I don't want to shrink down and become weak and puny, right? Well, I totally understand you, and that's why we are talking about today that very thing, okay? How do we maintain your size and strength on a cut? And this all came from a question I had from a viewer who is a regular supporter of the channel, who I appreciate you greatly. And this particular Chad individual, I've gone to his Instagram. Well, he followed me on Instagram because you guys can, my Instagram's down in the description. You guys can shoot me questions over there or just say hi. And I checked out his Instagram, and he has done some amazing transformations as well. Okay, so this dude's incredible. All right, so essentially, the full question is this right here. I'm going to start cutting to trim the remaining fat. And so tips to cut without losing muscle or strength. So yes, that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. It's a great question. And just, obviously we've got to cover the basics, the prerequisites, credentials. All right, here we go. All right, there we go. Fat boy, not so, started out as a skinny guy, and then meatball, and then this and that. Okay, so what are we going to cover today? We're going to talk about cutting mistakes that I've made, or some things I did wrong, and some things I did right. And then we're going to talk about how to maintain size, how to maintain strength. We're going to talk about carbs. How long do you go, consistency, and getting results. Okay, so let's get into the good stuff, right? So this is my cut. And I want to show you exactly, there's some few things here, a few things that I want to get wrong. So this is like the big part, okay, that you need to get. I heard this when I was getting ready to start, but I ignored it. And turns out it's real advice. Okay, I promise. I tested it on myself. This is real advice. I wish I would have done this. I did not taper my calories at all. Okay, so you can see I started my weight loss right here. And I cut down, I immediately went from about 4,000 to 1,700 calories. One day I was like, all right, I'm too fat, and now we're going to cut. And as you can see, this line right here, the beginning of this graph, this line is extremely steep. Okay, it's much more steep, the weight loss, than this line right here, which is a bit more, slightly more gradual. Okay, so it's a little more steep here. So I immediately dropped down to 1,700 calories. I did not taper at all. I just went. Everything went bad. Okay, I felt worse. I felt like crap. Well, no, I didn't feel like crap. I felt great. Truly, I did feel good, but I did not feel good in the gym. My workouts were not good. I felt weak. I felt depleted, and basically, all my lifts just immediately dropped off. Like all my strength or everything just, went down the tubes. Okay, kind of went down the pooper. And then what happened is you can kind of see right here, I plateaued a little bit, and I got stuck. And so the problem was, because I started my cut at 1,700, and I also was not really tracking my macros that well either, which has definitely played a part. But I started here at 1,700, and I went down, and then I got like 2 months in, and I just like started plateauing. And I'm already at 1,700, but the thing is, so where do I go from there? I can't. I'm barely eating at all, right? So I can't drop any lower, right? So I just kind of plateaued and slowed down, and my fat loss stopped. And then what I had to do is I had to do like a 2 or 3 weeks of metabolic reset, because your body's going to adapt, right? So the calories out portion is your energy expenditure, right? So your body is going to start expending less energy as you're taking in less food. So here, I pumped my calories up to 2,000-ish or 2,200 for 2 weeks, and it started getting me back up. And then when I got here, this was like 1,900 to like 1,800. Like 1,900, 1,800, which is kind of interesting if you think about, I got more results. I kept the fat loss going here, dropping down to 1,900, when 1,700 over here wasn't doing anything anymore, right? So that's the whole point. That's one of the points of tapering as well. Is like when your body adjusts and you start to get into that plateau zone, you need to have somewhere else you can go, right? So for me, I do everything to the extreme, right? Obviously, because I'm a dummy. So I was like, gas all the way to the floor, maximum cut. I just want to lose weight as fast as possible. And it works, but it's not going to be the best, right? So it's kind of interesting that, I was eating more here, but actually losing weight that I couldn't lose up here. So anyways, so that's really the big part of how to maintain your size. Now, the thing is, big caveat here, you're going to lose some size. This is inevitable, right? It's going to happen. Unfortunately, you're going to lose a little bit. It is what it is. You gotta push through it. Just keep going. All right. As long as we are not losing the most amount possible, okay, I think that's the important part. So a big part of maintaining size, doing exercises that are going to keep your muscles pumped and inflated. When I was working out in those calorie depleted states, I really didn't have the energy to do a lot of lower rep, higher output stuff. So I had to do higher rep exercises to feel like I was even getting anything out of the exercise. Like, geez, I can't even type. I feel like that was really important for me when I was, holding everything on. And, when I say higher rep, I mean 12 to 20 range, right? So that was about where I stayed. But the thing is, with that higher rep stuff, we also want to maintain our strength as well. So I have in here, one thing I did was occasionally work in lower rep ranges, right? And I did not do any 1 rep maxes here. And I don't think that's a good idea to do a 1 rep max when your joints are depleted of everything and your tendons are depleted. Your body doesn't have the carbohydrates and there's no glycogen in your muscles. This is not when you want to do a 1 rep max, okay? This is not when you want to see if you can do the full stack on any machine, right? Stick to, me personally, I wouldn't go lower than, 5s, 3 to 5s, maybe 3s, if you're feeling really good. But other than that, that's all we're doing. Okay, so we're occasionally getting into those low rep ranges just to push the envelope a little bit and try to maintain some of that strength. The other thing that you might want to do, I felt that this was really helpful, was I reduced my amount of working sets per exercise so that I could get some more exercises in with quality reps. Like, for example, let's say my first lift, I was doing like 3 sets, but then by the time I'm getting to that 3rd set, I'm gassed, and then I move on to the next exercise, and I have nothing left to give a good quality set of 2nd or 3rd exercises, and I'm still trying to build somewhat of a physique, right? Okay, so what I did was I dropped it down to like 1 really hard working set per exercise so that I had the energy to do another good set on a different exercise to get some good variation in there. Okay, and speaking of kind of keeping your body pumped up and fueled, I want to talk about carbohydrates. Don't be afraid of carbs. Okay, carbs are our friend. Your carbohydrates are your body's easiest and fastest source for energy, when it comes to like quick energy sources. So the thing is, we want to maximize the amount of carbs we're getting so that you have energy for your workouts, obviously without busting your daily limit for your energy. Okay, so this is really important. This is vital to why it's not just super important that you track, but also track like your actual macro breakdown. Okay, so you want to get your proteins and your fats dialed in, and your fats hopefully as low as you can get them, because I think for every 1 gram of fat you drop out, that's 2 extra grams of carbohydrates that you can put back into your diet. Okay, so you want to really dial in your proteins and your fats. And another thing, speaking of, this is another big tip that I feel was also very important for maintaining size and strength, is making sure you get enough protein. Okay, I actually feel like I should have had an entire slide for this, getting the correct amount of protein. Actually, there, we just drew a slide. That gets its own slide now. I felt a huge difference from when I was doing like 120-ish grams of protein per day. And then I pumped it up to 220, or like between 210 and 220, somewhere in that range for my daily protein intake. I felt a huge difference in performance, recovery, everything. So I really think that's super, super important. Okay, what's next? So how long do you go for? In my opinion, I think you probably shouldn't go for too much longer than 12 weeks. I think you should do a little cut. Go for 12 weeks. At that point, your body starts to get pretty worn down and pretty acclimated to that low calorie intake. So what I would do is after 12 weeks, just do a little 2 or 3 week metabolic reset. And this is just increasing your calories by like 500 a day, 400 or 500 a day from what you were doing. And this is not going to make you fat, right? This is like probably not even getting you up to your maintenance, right? But let's just say you're at 1800, you go for 2 weeks, a couple weeks at 2200, right? And then drop back down to 2000 and just start working that, right? So now we're getting more calories in, more fuel, start to keep everything moving. Big thing is keep pushing, right? Consistency is going to be key. You got to stick with it. Unfortunately, you're going to look worse before you get better. This is my experience, and I've heard that this is the experience with a lot of other people as well. As soon as you start cutting, first thing you're going to notice is your arms are going to be smaller, and probably your legs are going to be smaller. And then, after weeks and weeks and months, potentially, the very last thing to go is going to be your waist. Then you'll finally, when your body has no more fat to lose anywhere else, then you'll start to lose your fat around your waist. But I promise, I remember there was a moment, there was many moments along the bulk and the cut where I was like, dude, is this even worth it? This is wild nonsense. Okay, this is like so much effort to do all this. And then I remember there was a day when I got to the leanest point in my cut. I looked in the mirror, boys, and I was just like, bro, all of it. I was like, ooh, that was worth it. 100%, that was worth it. But that's just me. Okay, that's how I felt. And then I immediately the next day thought that I was too skinny and started bulking again because I'm psychotic, and that's just how I am. Anyways, that's all I got for today. I hope that was helpful. If you have any other questions, throw them down in the comment section below, or you can send me a message on the Instagrams. I don't get on there every day, but I'd be happy to answer questions on here or there or whatever. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great day.